Breathing. Breathing. Breathing, breathing, breathing. Video 2. Hey folks, so it's KJ Bell here again with another vocal technique video. Today we're talking about quantifying the breath. So the last video we talked a lot about some of the techniques I use to help you start breathing better, and today we're going to talk about some tools that I use to continue that sort of thing. So one of the problems that we have as vocalists is that we tend to, a lot of us, tend to think that once we reach a certain spot in breathing that we're kind of done and we don't really have to do a whole lot more with our breath work. And that's just not true, because often the breathing and your lung capacity and your ability to support the sound is one of the first things to go if you're not singing regularly. And unfortunately, doing things like teaching voice lessons and running choir rehearsals are not really singing regularly, because you don't have to do a lot of sustained stuff over time, as I learned to my detriment. I was working with one of my voice kids on a piece that I had sung on my senior recital just like a year and, well, I guess it was 2 years before that. And I could not make some of the phrases in this piece nearly as, I couldn't make them like I used to. And it was just shocking to me. And then I started singing in a choir again for the first time in a few months. And it was just amazing how my breath control had gone out the window. So I found this exercise that I really like because it helps us attach a number to our breath. It helps us to quantify things. And that's not something that we get in vocal technique very often, is a definitive, quantifiable number. So I'm going to be sitting down for this video because this is the best angle for me to shoot at in my apartment, but you should do this standing because it helps it helps you to breathe better if you're standing. So to get our number, we're going to go to our handy metronome, in this case my cell phone, because I can't find my actual metronome. Perils of moving, even though it's been a month, you know. And I set this to 60 beats a minute. And what I do with everybody, including myself, is first I establish a baseline. So what I do is I start this thing a-ticking, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to breathe in for 4 counts, and then I'm going to exhale for as long as I can. I tend to use an S because a hiss, sort of a sound, because it helps to feel the breath working a lot more than simply exhaling. And here's what happens with a lot of students. They will do this sort of, like, can you even hear that? They'll be super wimpy to try and boost their number up. Don't do that. Give it the same amount of breath that you would for singing. Don't force it, but just give it the same amount of air that you would use to sing. So here we go. Let's see if I embarrass myself. So not bad, not great, but not bad. It should be better, but that's, you know. And what I'll do is I'll do that 3 times to sort of get an average. We're not going to do that right now because, you know, time. So I like to do that with an S. You can do it with a simple inhale exhale, or you can do it with a zzz, which adds a pitch to it, or you can do it on a pitch, sort of a situation. But you want to pick one of those and be consistent with it, because the numbers usually change slightly depending on which one that you do. I like to stick with the S, like I said, but you know, you do you, boo-boo. So once I have established that baseline, I change the goal a little bit to start working the breath. I'll stick with the inhale for 4, and it's very important to do a numbered inhalation as well, because I can't tell you the number of times that I've been singing something and I've gone, oh, okay, I have 2 measures before I have to come in, so I will breathe the entire measure before, the entire 4 beats. And then I go, oh crap. And then I end up not getting a good enough breath because I have to exhale and then inhale again really quickly before I can actually start singing. So I didn't get that good, nice, full breath that I like and that I wanted and that I was going for. So regulating that inhale is as much of a skill as regulating the exhalation. But anyway, so I changed the goal, and so I stick with the in for 4, and now I'm going to go out for 4 and try to get all of the air out of my lungs. And I do this with students regardless. Now, one thing that you should note is that if you're doing this with a pitch like the zzz or the ah, you probably shouldn't do it with the 4, because since you're trying to get all of the air out, it will affect the pitch of things. So if you go zzz, and it's really kind of not good for the chords to do that either. So I would stick with it with a plain old exhale or an S doing this initially. So I just do a few rounds of So I do that a few times, and sometimes I add an arm movement. I like a this and a that, because it tends to help regulate the exhale. Some people do it this way. I find that gives me shoulder tension, so I like a down and an out because it helps with the expansion. But you know, whatever. It's not necessary. So then once I've done the in for 4, out for 4, I will begin to up the inhalation. And I usually go to 6, sometimes I go to 8, it depends on the student. And then I just keep bumping the number up a little bit as I go and do rounds of it. You know, it's a good exercise to sort of track your breathing. Okay, it's like on Tuesday I got up to 12 and 12 was no problem. But yesterday 12 was an issue and I barely got there. That sort of a thing. It's a very good exercise. I enjoy it immensely. And there are countless variations that you can use, that you can find online, that I have used. I use one with choirs where I go in for 6, out for 6, in for 5, out for 5. And you count down until you just go plain in, out, with the goal being to move as much air on the 1 as you did on the 6, the 6, the 6, the 6. Okay. So I'll stick with an inhale of 4 until the exhalation is been worked fairly sufficiently and has become very, very comfortable, and then I'll start messing around with the number of the inhalation, because it's good to be able to do an inhale for 8 counts, and it's good to be able to do an inhale for 1 and get the same amount of air going. So play around with that, keep track of your numbers. It's a very good exercise. I love to use this with my kids. I love to use this with my students. I find it's very helpful, and it helps me too. I use this every time I practice my own voice stuff. So, if you want to check out the first breathing video, there will be a thing at the end of this video to a link to there. Keep watching and subscribe, and I'll have more videos. Next, we're coming out with a support video, and if you do string stuff, I'm coming out with a few of those too. So it'll be very exciting. So stay tuned. Oh, you can check out the blog with the article with a post about this same sort of idea that goes a little bit more in detail. So check it out.